Okay, so just chilling online. Then I see this video here. We're struggling as a parent. This is Meet Kevin, the Mr. Beast gender transition. Talking about Chris, someone that's known Mr. Beast and worked alongside Mr. Beast for a long time. So, I go to Twitter, and all you see is people block Chris because weirdo. Saying he can't be a father. He'll never be a real woman. Chris has literally done nothing wrong. He has no reason to deserve this hate, other than he made a personal life choice that isn't in anyone's business. It's his body. Be able to do what he wants with his own body. Her. We'll say they for now, just to take gender out of it. Some people saying they're doing it for marketing, mental health disorder. I got news for you. If you're going at people because they have a mental health disorder, you have a mental health disorder, your damn self. Because you're obsessing over what another person is or isn't doing, and then judging them, which is kind of weird and obsessive and is a mental health disorder. And then people like threatening to unfollow Mr. Beast if he doesn't follow him. Do I really want to listen to Sneeko's opinion on this?
The Chris I know was like a truck driving, AK-47 shooting, Call of Duty playing, dip chewing. Yep, niggers. That was the Chris I knew.
So it's better for someone. He's basically saying, like, I don't even know if that's an accurate description of Chris. Was he a pro-gun racist? He just called Chris a racist. Said that Chris was better off being a racist than trans. That's weird. Here to help with the ratio. So it looks like Mr. Beast is like trying to support his friend. Keep in mind, this is his friend. This isn't just a business person. Anyway, I digress. We'll go back and check out Chris's page and all that after we listen.
Folks, I need help as a parent understanding what to do with a 7-year-old who is now asking me why one of his favorite cast members of the show, Mr. Beast, on YouTube, has now transitioned to
I feel like this is kind of valid, though.
So
this
now
doesn't seem hateful.
One of the individuals, Chris, has transitioned. They're announcing that they are transgender. This is a 2-month difference between the two photos here. Apparently, Chris is now on hormone replacement
I don't even know who
therapy.
Blix is.
And he writes here in response to this
Probably
tweet,
better off
HRT,
not knowing
it's
who
only
Blix
been
is.
2 months. This is obviously Mr. Beast is one of the most popular channels, actually the most popular channel on YouTube. Its social media presence is massive. And the question that I have is, how do you respond to now a 7-year-old who's asking about this? And so I'm going to give some of my responses.
I'm going to pause the video. There's probably not a big chance Meet Kevin is going to see this. But a way you could respond is some people feel really uncomfortable in their bodies. And the way they feel and the way they look don't align. What they like and what they're supposed to like doesn't align. Also, if you want to go into depth, that there are people born with indistinguishable parts between male and female, and that's quite natural. And sometimes when people want to fit into a certain box, whether they're born in the middle with unidentifiable parts or they're born as male or female, sometimes you want to fit into a different box because the way you feel and sometimes the way you're even chemically made doesn't fit into the box that is like the box that you fit in looks like it. The box you fit in looks different from the way you look. Like with me, for example, a lot of people think I'm trans because of the extra facial hair and things like that. I'm a woman. I have no desire to transition, but due to being in a very toxic environment, because I really didn't have good parents, not in the sense that they weren't good parents to me, but they were just not good together. Being in a high aggro environment can cause a kid to develop extra testosterone, and I've produced extra testosterone my whole life. Therefore, I look like someone who's transitioning or who tried to transition, or to some people straight up like a man. Gender is on a sliding scale. Chemistry is very unpredictable and insane. And sometimes the way you come out looking doesn't match your insides. And when people's outsides don't match their insides, that can cause depression and can cause them to not want to be here anymore. So doctors and people and psychologists usually try to help that person to make the best decision to make their insides match their outsides, and sometimes that's transitioning into the gender or sex in which their insides are aligned to.
And thoughts on this, but it is something that I'm very curious about what society thinks and feels. So, for example, here's another photo of Chris with Mr. Beast. Here, he's just announced that he is on hormone replacement, and understandably, to some extent, social media is some social media is confused, some social media is very proud. My question: I don't really care what people do or how they identify. I just am, as a parent, trying to figure out how to respond to my 7-year-old son, who's now asking me, I did not know that I could go to the settings menu and choose to be a girl. So I have a 5 and 7-year-old boy. I want to be very clear. I support people in whatever choices they make. I have nothing against how people identify or their sexual preferences. I don't really care how people live their lives as long as it's peaceful. I'm not going to tell people they can't or can do something. That's not my place. So I'm completely respectful of whatever somebody's decision is. There's nothing within me at all that is offended. I'm just, as a parent, trying to struggle through.
The reason why I watched this video, I didn't think Kevin was going to be offensive.
So I've tried to logic out some of the choices. So one response that you could make to a 7-year-old is you could say, yes, you can choose. But then the question is, well, when can I choose? And maybe the appropriate response is you could choose when you're 18 and you're an adult. But then now more and more children that are in like...
That's a better choice, especially if the child doesn't have unidentifiable genitals, as in genitals that don't fit into the male or female box. Now, if it's them experimenting with their sexuality, bisexuality, yeah, wait till you're older. Like, there are some people that go through a bisexual phase, and there are others that it's not a phase.
First and second grade are being exposed to people changing their genders earlier. And I'm like, they don't even know what sex is at 7 years old. They take, like, sex ed comes in 5th grade. What the hell?
Sex ed, I was born in 1989. We had sex ed by the 2nd grade. It is public school. Don't ask me. I went to Oakwood Elementary. It's in Norfolk, Virginia.
What am I supposed to tell a 7-year-old who's now watching Mr. Beast and seeing one of his favorite characters turn into a girl? I don't know what to do. I am totally lost as a parent. So on one hand, I think, okay, well, maybe you could say, yes, you can transition at 18, but even if you take that approach, now how do you say that? Like, oh, it's an option that unlocks when you're 18? What do you tell a child?
As I digress, you can explain to them the way they feel now might change to explore their feelings fully until they become an adult, because also when you're a child, you're growing. Your hormones are a little bit crazy, and that's why you would like them to wait till 18. It's not like that option unlocks at 18. Just like I said, there's no underlying problems, like they're not born intersex. Then you might want to wait. The way you feel could change. I mean, I went from being straight to bi to gay multiple times during my late teens and early 20s, and due to certain experiences I've had in life and learning myself at 33, I identify as completely gay.
How do you explain to a child, now you're a girl, and then they respond and go, but wait a minute,
Also, I did not realize, for the many different reasons and scenarios, that I was completely gay, and that's probably not going to change until my late 20s. Like, it takes time to learn yourself, especially when you're growing up and learning things and trying to figure out the world, especially in these chaotic times.
I thought you're a boy if you have a ding-a-ling, and you're a girl if you don't. And now the question is, well, no, it's just how you identify. Okay, well, why then can't I identify sooner, right? 7-year-olds are very curious. Well, if it's not a physical change that needs to be made, then and I only need to say I'm a girl. Oh, I want to be a girl now. I don't know what to tell.
See, this is where I disagree. And this is where we find a lot of how do I say this, predators in the scene. I think to identify as the opposite sex in which you are, you need to fully transition. Until then, you just need to identify as someone that's transitioning, like a they-them type thing. Because, I mean, I don't understand. If you want to be a boy or girl, you should want to fully do the transition. People that don't want to fully transition and only do part of it, that kind of creeps me out and is a little bit of a red flag.
A 7-year-old. Now, the other thing that you could say is, no, you can't change genders. You're biologically what you are, but you can dress up and act however you want. You can identify and tell everybody
like
what you are, but
cross-dressing.
biologically you are a boy. That is what it is.
Which, we take it really hard on men that like to dress in women's clothes, but when women like to dress in men's clothes, like I do, I've been doing it since I was a kid because I don't feel comfortable in skirts and dresses because of men, and they're just not comfortable. But we're completely okay with tomboys, which is pretty much a woman dressing like a man. But if a man dresses like a woman, that's weird. So many. The rules for men and women seem to be different, and a lot of rules for men are extremely toxic. And I'm sorry, that's why men kind of need to be a little bit more open-minded to therapy and mental health, because there's a lot of toxic things that men have been told about hiding their feelings. like if a woman, like I said, wears boys' clothes, it's fine, she's a tomboy. But if a boy wears girl clothes, you'll get joked and beat up, and just, it's not cool. We need to stop the boys will be boys violence thing, because that's not, I just don't feel that's true. I think men have feelings, and a lot of them would talk about them if they knew it was okay. Women can tell men all the time that it's okay to talk about their feelings, but I think other men need to do that, and maybe it would be more beneficial.
But now a show that he's watching daily has an individual that could potentially have, a name change, obviously a gender change, and there'll be some form of behavioral changes. And there may even be talk about using therapeutics like hormone replacement therapy, which all of this is extremely confusing to a 7-year-old. Now, of course, there's one train of thought that, well, then you could just censor Mr. Beast, but you can't censor children. They're going to watch whatever they're going to watch anyway. So you can't censor it. There are going to be people in before he's 18 who transition around him. I just wouldn't expect that in first grade I'd have to start trying to explain that people can choose to transition. So really, I have no problem with that at all. I guess more of the issue that I see is now we're forcing this discussion to children who don't know anything about really even their own sexuality or body parts or what sex is or any of that. So I have no idea how to explain that to a 7-year-old. So the approach that I've taken is that, hey, that's something, you can decide generally when you're 18 and older, and
that's fine. That's a good, decent stance.
We kind of left it at that. But again, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing as a parent, because I'm not going to censor I have
I
nothing.
think that's fine.
I'm not opposed to the decision that the individual made, that Chris made. The question now, though, is, yeah, of course, censorship never works. We know that. That's why, like I said, I would never.
Anyways, this I don't see as hate towards it. This is really just a parent that wants to know, how do I explain this scenario that came up to my kid that I don't kind of really know how to explain. But I digress. Back to Chris's page. The person transitioning, any pronouns, so I guess they would be correct. You know, they look quite happy. Mr. Beast, as we saw, seems quite supportive. Of course, it's their friend. I'm sure if you ask Mr. Beast, you don't know Chris's story. Chris could have been very depressed before, and this could have completely changed their demeanor and outlook on life. I know a lot of people where it does do that. Opening up about the gender journey, because usually when someone says hormone replacement therapy changed my life, they were really just in a low place, and looking and feeling more like themselves really helps. Or like I said, insides matching the outsides. It's never too late to start being yourself. Yeah, like I said, attacking him as a father. What has he done? What have they done to show you they're a bad father? That's weird. Yeah. Mr. Beef Chan from YouTube to MySpace. Like, why would they lose their verification on Twitter? There's a lot of rumors too about Elon being very anti-trans because they have a child that is transitioned, and the child who's an adult, has chosen to not want to be correlated with Elon and has removed their last name to be Musk. But how do y'all know that's just because isn't because they just want privacy? Imagine being Elon Musk's kid. You're like insta famous. That's a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I hope maybe I shed some light on maybe some good possible answers or explanations, but the unnecessary hate Chris is receiving right now for no reason, especially when so many people have watched so much Mr. Beast content with Chris in it, all this doesn't change who they are. Chris is still Chris. The outsides have just changed, and Chris seems a little happier. So